Frankie, it's you and I this time around. It's the first time we've been on the mic together. Feels like we're back at Rallycross.
Yeah, I think it was the 22nd of June you and I did a stint together last as we watch the Joubert Sports and GTs. It was supposed to be a 100k 31 lapper, but obviously it's been chopped down to 16 laps, yes, due to everybody taking a cut so we can get through the day successfully. So 10 of the cars have entered for this one. There's quite a few, it was about 17, 18, close to 20 cars that had entered for this one, but obviously track conditions has played a role. But at least we've got 10 of them out there, and it's going to be 16 excellent laps.
And on pole, the main man in the Janetta G57 LMP3 car, it's Craig Jarvis. I see there's no one out on the start line, Frankie. I think they're going to do another lap just to get into order.
I think they will do that, and it'll obviously be a rolling start for the sports and GTs as the safety car takes them through turn 1, through Holzhoek they go. Named after Mr. Edgar Hole. Holzhoek, turn 1. In case people didn't know, that's where the name from turn 1 comes from, after the great Mr. Edgar Hole. Then the Joubert Straight, named after the great Dennis Joubert. Then turn 2, which is Quarry Corner. Obviously, Castrol, the sponsor. Big thanks to Castrol. As the safety car works its way out, Gary will follow them through. Then there's the kink. Back in the day, Gazza will also confirm, that was known as the Peugeot kink when they sponsored then. Obviously, just known as the kink now. Then into turn 3, which is Damps, and a big thanks to Interceptor Shoewear that sponsors turn 3 as the safety car leads them out. Then slightly up the hill, that is the Tygerberg Straight, which will take them into turn 4, now known as Saddle Sweep. Its original name is Malmesbury. Once upon a time, it was sponsored by Saybat as well, but now I'm going back many, many years. But currently, it's known as Saddle Sweep after the great Mr. Saddle van der Merwe. And then the safety car will lead them down the back straight, also known as the Kalani Straight, the back straight. And then it'll take them into turn 5, Cape Town corner, but known as Pertamina Fostron, because that is the sponsor for that corner. Now, as we were saying off air, Jordan, Pertamina Fostron corner or Cape Town corner throughout the years had many other sponsors. BP was there, Stanik was there, Vodacom was there, but currently a big thanks to Pertamina Fostron. You can see the boards there for the sponsorship of turn 5 Cape Town corner. So a big thank you to Pertamina Fostron. And the main straight is known as the Porsche Club Straight. And a big thanks as well to Castrol, City of Cape Town, Line Property Management, and Smile 90.4 FM, the media partner. Right, we're about to go racing. Jordan, take them off the line, 16 laps.
The lights are on and the lights are off, and away they go. And Craig Jarvis will lead the group down to turn 1 and through Holzhoek. You see the brake lights flashing on those GT cars as they make their way through. Lots of spray coming up there. We've got 2 open wheelers, not open wheelers, open cockpit cars, one being that Sandra Bakari car, that VW Juno, as well as the Alf out there driven by Eric Solomon. He's a little bit further behind. He needs to catch up to the field. But Craig Jarvis will pull that Janetta as far ahead as he possibly can. That Janetta's now been liveried as a Hot Wheels car, and it looks like a big Hot Wheels car.
Well, it is a big Hot Wheels car, but it cannot use all that power and speed in this one because look at that river running across the circuit there. Dams of water in the grass and the sand area. The drivers will have to be very, very careful as they work their way through Saddle Sweep. Through turn 4, Saddle Sweep, and heading down onto the back main. There's Bakari coming through as they race down the back straight, the Kalani Straight, towards turn 5, Pertamina Fostron.
I'm interested in this battle between the two, I say two front-running BMWs, but the two BMWs close to the front. It's Renzo Torrente in that BMW M4, and that's Oliver Hintenace in that M3. But now you see both of these guys have done double duty today, one in Clubman's and the other in GTI Challenge. So they've got a feeling, yes, in different cars, but they've got a good idea of where the puddles are and where the worst parts of the track are, and that's why they're so high up already.
So lap number 1 in the bag. There's Jarvis. Behind Jarvis is Torrente. Behind Torrente is Hintenhuis. And right there with Hintenhuis is the first open wheel, open top car, and that is a Sandro Beccari that sits there in that 4th position. Keep an eye there on Tristan de Nobrega. He sits in P5. He will be out there with the 350Z. We're not seeing him now. We're seeing Hintenhuis making his way through with Beccari right behind him and Torrente. Here comes de Nobrega, making his way into Castrol corner. That is turn 2 Castrol. And then Martin Prince making his way into Castrol as well.
And then
followed there by Simeon Panev. Sorry, Jordan.
I was going to say, rounding out the field, coming into Castrol. But now we'll look. There's a spinner. That's Sandro Beccari coming out of Interceptor corner onto the Joubert, onto the Tygerberg straight. He's actually come to a stop. So I wonder if that car's cut out. I see the lights are on, but he hasn't got underway just yet. So you might have to hard restart that car just by turning it off and turning it on again, and hopefully that'll jump start it. But at the moment he's a sitting duck. And I think there he gets back underway and onto the circuit very slowly though. And that'll make him lose a ton of positions.
Now just keeping out the ways. He'll drop down to the tail end of the field as the leader makes his way into turn 1, into Holzhoek. That is race leader Craig Jarvis. Oliver Hintenhuis in second, followed there by Renzo Torrente. And the quickest man out there is Jarvis, a 131.099. Heading into turn 1 now is Tristan de Nobrega. He is out there in the Nissan 350Z.
And now we watch as he makes his way into Holzhoek, now in that 350Z, sponsored there by Spirit Racing. Followed there by Martin Prince. But now we watch this battle. Sandro Beccari makes up another position after he lost that after his spin on the Tygerberg straight. Simeon Panev just sitting there behind him at the moment. I don't think he's used to the wet, because he doesn't seem too comfortable with that car, but he'll just pedal it around without too much difficulty as they make their way towards Castrol.
Well, coming up the Joubert straight, let's have a look and see as they head towards Castrol corner. How far up this field can Sandro Beccari come? He's on the lead lap, he's in P6. We just see him there in view shortly as we watch the Janetta make its way out of Fostron corner. And that is a race leader, Craig Jarvis. It's a lovely looking machine. It's an LMP2 sports car of yesteryear, but it is still as quick as what it was then. Making its way into turn 1. Listen to the sound of that motor car. Ollie Hintenhuis going past us now. And then we've got Renzo Torrente making his way into turn number 1 into holes.
Would you look at that, Frankie? A 130.435 by Ollie Hintenhuis, getting the new fastest lap ahead of Craig Jarvis.
Yeah, we're watching Tristan de Nobrega in the 350Z of Spirit Racing, making his way into Holzhoek. Lovely to see him out there of that famous de Nobrega racing family. Tristan working his way around, and then we pick up Martin Prince. Is also heading into turn number 1 into Holzhoek.
And I actually saw Connor Kilbride in the Marco Retta car was supposed to be out today, but he didn't make it out this afternoon. Also sponsored there by Spirit Racing. But we were talking about Tristan de Nobrega, and he's actually racing for the rest of the season.
Oh, it's going to be awesome to have Tristan out for the rest of the track. One of the Porsches just moving out the way there. That could be Clive Smith. It is Clive Smith, as a matter of fact. That's just moving out the way as we pick up the leader. Oh, and right on Jarvis's case, heading into turn number 5 into Fostron corner is Ollie Hintenhuis. Ollie Hintenhuis says, come, you got all that power on your right foot, Mr. Jarvis. I do have, but not as much as what you've got. And I'm going to have a go at you. But look at that rooster tail of spray that's coming out the back of that Janetta. And that right in the face, so to speak, of Ollie Hintenhuis.
It looks like one of those tricks you'd pull on the Night Rider that sent up the, the smoke screen. But he manages to push away. we see now as they make their way, as Renzo Torrente makes his way into turn 1, the leaders will battle it out into Castrol Corner, but we'll watch Renzo Torrente in 3rd place at the moment. Oh, and Craig Jarvis is around coming out of turn 2, just ahead of the short circuit commentary box. There he is, just stuck there on the grass. He's just a little bit out of view, but there he's pulling onto the grass. And I think that car's a little bit wedged. There you see it just out of the frame. And I think it's stuck. They're all running to push it, Frankie. Oh, no, that's not good.
Well, he's going to dig himself out of that hole. But while he tries to get himself out of that hole, we watch the rest of the guys coming through. As we have a look and see, that is Hintenhuis and Torrente going down into the lower part of the circuit as we watch. No, that's actually Ollie Hintenhuis coming out of turn 5 at a fast run. This one changed itself around very, very quickly in a blink of an eye. He sits out there in P1. That is your leader heading under the City of Cape Town, Lime Properties and Castrol Bridge down the Porsche Straight. That is Oliver Hintenhuis heading into turn number 1. Here comes Torrente in that 2nd position, and he's been hassled there by the 350Z in P3 of Tristan de Nobrega.
And I think we were just talking about Ollie Hintenhuis. He's got that pressure taken off his shoulders after trying to battle Craig Jarvis, and I actually wonder if there was any contact. I just heard a bit of a scream downstairs and had my eyes looking out towards turn 2, but we see Craig Jarvis and not up to speed as you'd normally see him. So unless maybe there's something wrong with that car or the traction control settings aren't up to his liking, but there, it still sounds on power, Frankie.
No, it's still on pace, that's for sure. And on track right there behind him, you see the Shelby Can-Am of Sandro Bakari. And Sandro is right there with him. That's a fight for P5 and 6. But have a look at this. Look at this. This is a Torrente, and right behind him is de Nobrega as they make their way out of Saddle Sweep. Down the back main they go towards a Pertamina Fostron, turn 5, and de Nobrega is crowding the back end of that BMW, or trying to crowd the back end of the BMW of Renzo Torrente.
I think that BMW just has the extra legs as Torrente goes a little bit wide and tries to angle off that apex to get a better exit out of Pertamina Fostron and onto the main straight. And I think he'll do that, and he'll use that BMW's straight line speed to get away from de Nobrega as they make their way into Holzhoek. But they will now, this is for 2nd and 3rd place, they will now make their way up to behind the back marker, Eric Solomon.
Right, we go back down into a Fostron corner. We'll have a look at those. There's 3 cars working their way out there. That's Martin Prince, that's behind Jarvis. And right behind him is Sandro Bakari as they exit the Pertamina Fostron and make their way through turn 5A onto the Porsche Club Straight and run it down. And here comes Bakari looking up on the inside of Martin Prince. They're side by side, under braking in wet conditions. Is Prince going to nail him? He's going to go for it, and he makes the move stick there on Martin Prince coming out of holes.
A little bit of an ambitious move, but he made it stick, as you said. If he tried to hold that line, Martin Prince would have been in grave danger, possibly making contact, but he just moved out of the way and it took him onto the wet line. But he managed to stay on track. But now we watch as they go through Castrol Corner, and Sandro Bakari will take that position. Even though he is still a lap down, he'll take that position back and unlap himself from Prince as they make their way through Interceptor Corner.
So the leader all on his own into turn number 1. That's Ollie Hintenhuis. Or it looked like Ollie Hintenhuis. It is Ollie Hintenhuis. Here comes Torrente going into turn number 1. And right there with him is Tristan de Nobrega. And there's only 1.7 seconds between Torrente and de Nobrega as they work their way out of Holzhoek. So as they make their way towards Castrol Corner, he is right on his case there, Jordan. is De Nobrega on Torrente as they make their way through and work their way through Castrol.
Well, these are the only guys that haven't, besides the Superbikes, these are the only guys that haven't touched foot on the circuit until their first race, and now the Sports and GT's only race. So they're still learning some of the parts of the circuit that are still dangerous. As you can see, there's still lots of wood on the outside of Interceptor Corner. And De Nobrega looked like he was trying to make a pass there. We'll see into frame. He's maybe a car and a half's length distance between the two. Now it's the straight line speed that's going to show what's the difference.
Right, down the back main they go. And let's have a look and see. They're going to pick up a back marker. That will be Clive Smith in the Porsche 924. He just keeps right out the way as the overall leader heads into turn number 1. That is that fight on track for second and third that you see coming out of Fostron.
And it looks to me, Frankie, that Torrente has the better straight line speed and corner exit, getting out of the corners using all that power. But De Nobrega has the corner speed. And that's why he's so good between turn 1, 2, and 3. But as soon as you get onto the back straight, he loses out.
Right, so as they work their way through turn number 1 out of holes, that fight is still very much on between Torrente and De Nobrega.
And now you see the gap still quite big, but now closing ever so slightly as they exit Castrol, and De Nobrega looks like he's got a bit of a run as they make their way towards Interceptor. But now we watch Craig Jarvis come through. It looks like he's trundling, but I can assure you that that car's going at a blistering pace around the circuit. Still, he's now got the fastest lap of 1:28.714. But now we look back, Frankie, going through Sorrel Sweep.
Well, our timing device was jumping all over the place. Earlier on, it showed Ollie Hinternaus as the leader. Then it showed Jarvis as the leader, but Jarvis did spin, so we'll have a look and see. According to what we see on our screen, Ollie Hinternaus that they did show was in the lead is apparently no longer in the lead. He's in second. It is Craig Jarvis, even though he spun, that according to the timekeeping system, showing that he is still out there in P1.
Yeah, that is rather strange, and I can't understand why that would be. But we watch now as Torrente comes across the line once again. We're assuming that he's in a net P2 after Craig Jarvis's spin, but we'll work with what we see and as it carries on. But we watch now Jarvis followed there by Eric Solomon, who's a lap or maybe even 2 laps down now as they make their way down the main straight and under the City of Cape Town Bridge.
Right, so there goes Jarvis. He's the quickest man out there with a 1:28.714. Craig Jarvis making his way into Holzhoek in that Hot Wheels car, and it is indeed a Hot Wheels machine making its way up the Joubert straight. We'll see him come into view. He's got to be careful. They're all going to be careful of that dam of water on the left-hand side of the track, your right-hand side, as you watch it at home. And there is Jarvis busy working his way out of Castrol Corner. 6 laps to go, including the one that they are on, as Jarvis works his way towards Interceptor.
And now we're watching as they make their way through Pertamina Fostron. Sorry. And we see Torrente still just holding ahead of De Nobrega. And it seems like De Nobrega just doesn't have enough, as we've got about 6 laps to go come the end of this lap. We cross the line again, and the gap now, a measly 2.3 seconds adrift, is De Nobrega from Torrente as they make their way through Holzhoek. But that gap needs to close now, or Torrente needs to make a mistake if De Nobrega wants to get any closer.
Well, De Nobrega of that De Nobrega Racing family is also a great karter, or was a great karter back in the day. So yes, he's going to stick there with Torrente as we watch Craig Jarvis thunder away into holes, into turn 1. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that car earlier on, Jordan. He just got it slightly wrong, picked up a damn spot on the track and turned itself around. And when you got the car back running again, he's beginning to put in some quick laps. There is Sandro Bakari. Ahead of him is Eric Salomon, but Salomon is ahead of him on track, but behind him on the leaderboard. Bakari is ahead. Bakari sits in P5 and Salomon is in P8. So that's P5 chasing P8 into Castrol Corner.
And now I say with a big smile on my face, Frankie, the heavens have opened and you can see sunlight for the first time since early this morning. And I think the track will not necessarily start to dry, but the rain isn't coming down and there's no wind anymore, or at least a little bit of wind as we watch.
Well, if we go back into turn number 1, because Salomon is about to be lapped there by Bakari. Through turn 1, they just worked their way. That's Torrente and Donobriga. There you see them come into view. The car that just disappeared into view, into Castrol, that is a Simon Penev's car. As you watch the fight for P3 and 4 working its way through turn 2 Castrol.
And again, it's getting ever so much closer. Donobriga knows how to use that Nithin 350Z to get around the corners, but as soon as you get on a straight, that BMW's power just pulls ahead and it's no match. But we watch now coming through this corner, look at the line that he gets and look at the run that he gets towards Sarl Sweep. But with such a fast corner and no aerodynamics on that Nissan, it's just not enough. And then Torrente will put the power down, put his foot to the floor, maybe even trying to push it through the floor to get away from this guy as they make their way towards Pertamina Fostron.
Well, they're approaching 3 more laps to go, and that's about the only dice out there on track is the one between Renzo Torrente and Tristan Donobriga for 3rd and 4th position. Oh, Torrente going a bit high there in Pertamina Fostron, covers that line neatly, but look what that's done. That has brought Tristan Donobriga right onto his boot lid as they're going to pick up that back marker, namely Clive Smith, once again heading into holes.
But will this back marker and the next back marker upcoming, Simeon Penev, will that make the difference in the last 4 laps? Will that bring them ever so much closer? Will it slow Torrente down? We'll have to wait and see as they make their way down the Joubert straight. Like you said, there's that big dam of wood on the right, on the camera's right-hand side. And they make sure to stay out of the way of that. And again, into Castrol Corner ever so much closer as they exit, still very damp through there, and a big stream as they make their way through the kink and into Interceptor.
Right, let's keep an eye on it. Here they go. This is Salomon that's been lapped there by Martin Prince into Fostron Corner. The Elf being overtaken there by the Porsche. Sander Bakari making his way into turn number 1 as we watch Prince get away from the Elf of the fastest accountant on 4 wheels, but not today because of track conditions. And that is Eric Salomon. He owns Eric Salomon Chartered Accountants in Century City, does Eric, and he loves his racing as we look at Bakari making his way into Castrol.
Yeah, it seems like there's 2 things that man loves. It's cars and numbers.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to see him out. I know how fast that car is, but he's not in the position that he wants to be in this weather. But now we watch as there's Penev just out in front, about to be lapped by Torrente and by Donobriga. And they are ever so much closer than they were the lap before. I mean, we could wait just until Interceptor Corner for these 2 to catch up to Penev.
Now they're going to lap the man that sits there in P7. Now, as a matter of fact, Craig Jarvis is thundering into turn number 1 as we watch these 2 in P3 and 4. So with, now I don't know if he's going to catch him because they've got about a lap and a half to go before they see the checkered flag. The leader is making his way on his own into Castrol Corner as we stay with this because Penev is now going to be attacked by these 2. Donobriga had a look. That's Penev you see on the screen. Donobriga had a look there at Torrente through the double right-hander Sarl Sweep, and he is right on the case of Renzo Torrente as they run down the back main towards turn 5 Pertamina Fostron.
This is the perfect time and perfect opportunity to get a little bit of slipstream, even if it's a little bit. I mean, still look how Torrente pulls away, but maybe there's a little bit more top speed there for Donobriga, but look how close that is Torrente is going to be on the back end of Penev very soon. Both of them are going to be in the back end of Penev. And with almost a lap to go, we wait for the leader to go around turn 5. Nope. Torrente will get past Penev with ease, and that will create a gap between third and fourth place, and that won't help De Nobrega at all.
So watching them coming out of Holzhoek, the leader, this is the man to start the final lap. This is race leader Craig Jarvis that is all on his own. He is light years down the road from Hintenhuis. That's in that second spot. He's got this one in the bag. Even with a spin, he still managed to maintain the lead. I think what might have happened earlier on, Jordy, is he might have had transponder issues. That's why they showed Hintenhuis first, but in theory, he was so far ahead that even when he spun, he still rejoined in P1, and then the transponder reset itself.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because in those first couple of laps, he did pull quite a gap. But now we watch Oliver Hintenhuis. He'll come around to start his final lap ahead of Martin Prince, who's a lap down from them. In that BMW, we watch them cross the line to start their final lap. But now we just wait and see. Wait for our leader, Craig Jarvis, to come around for the final time.
Well, you can't miss him. You'll hear that thunderation go down the backstretch. There it goes. You cannot miss that sound. He has got only a few hundred meters left to go as he starts Sector 3 and works his way into Pertamina Fostron for the final time. 16 laps have gone for him as a checkered flag is out to greet this man heading out of Fostron towards the flag, Geordie, namely race leader Craig Jarvis.
And he'll take the win after 16 fairly grueling laps in decent weather, with a final fastest lap of 1:28.471 by Oliver Hintenhuis a lap ago. But now we wait for Ollie Hintenhuis, the man in question, to take second place. And first in Class C, he'll make his way down the back straight after passing Clive Smith, who was just that back marker that we saw in frame. He comes into Pertamina Fostron for the final time today, and that will be his second place overall.
Yeah, in the Coastal Hire car, working his way towards the checkered flag, first under the Lime, Castrol and City of Cape Town Bridge. He will finish in second position to Jarvis that came home in P1, as he is 45.5 seconds behind the winner, Jarvis.
And now we watch there as Martin Prince comes across the line, as well as Clive Smith. They finish their races in 6th and 9th respectively. But here comes Torrente, and Torrente has just had enough to finish in third place overall, ahead of De Nobrega, as he'll cross the line almost side by side with Eric Salomon, who finishes 8th place, and finally coming across the line to finish the the Joubert Sports and GT 16 lapper, which would be about 50 kilometers. That was Simeon Penev in 7th place.
Yeah, and that concludes what would have been the 100 Ks. This class sponsored by Le Joubert Wine Estates. And that's a replay of earlier on. That's Penev, and that is a Prince that you can see on your screen there. There was 3 cars initially involved, but that is Prince and Penev. And this is a replay of, yeah, that is Sander Bakari that got it all wrong. Then he stopped on the left-hand side, his left-hand side of the track. And there you see Lorenzo Torrente coming through. This is Craig Jarvis. This is the one that you picked up early on. And was he tapped there by Ollie Hintenhuis? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But,
that would be a story afterwards for sure.
I don't think there was. And if it was, obviously just purely accidental, because track conditions is difficult. So, yeah, you're not going to go into anybody on purpose. I mean, that's obvious.
Especially not for a full carbon fiber LMP prototype like that. I mean, there's no reason to do that. But very, very unfortunate for Craig Jarvis. I mean, you ended up winning anyway, even with the spin. But, yeah, awesome racing from all of them.
So Class S was won by Jarvis, Class C by Hintenhuis, and Class B by Torrente. Class D